Yesterday, for the 273rd Taiku, I gave a very long introduction about this Taiku work, what it is, what it means to me, and how it's connected to other things. And today, the 274th Taiku, I'm going to do something similar, and I think it's really very interesting how this Taiku project, how I've thought about it for years. I've thought about this Taiku project since, I would say, January. The first seedlings of it, the first seed of this came in mid-January of 2020, even before Corona came. And I've been giving different attempts at it over the years since then, the past over 6 years. But it is only on June 19th of 2025 that it took root. These seeds, the seed of this idea took root as a continual day-to-day thing, day-by-day thing. January 19th, 2025 was the 23rd day of Sivan of 5785, which is a very significant date in the Megillas Esther, the book of Esther. It has to do with the scribes that sent out letters to say that the Jews were able to fight, whatever that means. I mean, there's a question of, do you have to have permission to fight? You just fight. But there's implications to that. Either the king helped them, or it was significant, it was symbolic in that they would win from heaven. It was like the fact that they had this permission, these letters went out, it was official. It was like a symbol from heaven that they would win. The point is, we just came from Purim, and we're in this sort of Geula time. There's connections between Purim and Passover within the story itself, and we're right in the middle, right now between Purim and Passover. And it's interesting, if you remember back then, it was the operation in mid-June was Operation Rising Lion, and there was that Iran-Israel war, and then now that we've come to Purim time where it's Roaring Lion, we're at a point where this Taiku project is just about, it's almost done. There's probably about 1 month left, or around that, maybe a little more. But so I find it very interesting that the 274th Taiku is now the day before spring. Spring is turning right now. Vayikra, it goes starting with the new book of Vayikra, and spring is March 21st, I think. The vernal equinox, and the number 274 is the gematria of the name Mordechai. And we just had Mordechai recently in the Daf Yomi. There was a series of statements by Mordechai and how wise he was. So the timing seems very interesting that in Daf Yomi and Purim time, and there's Mordechai, and then Mordechai is the gematria of the word gematria, which is very interesting. In gematria you can be one off. It's called the kolel. Like the word gematria, spelled with an aleph at the end, is 273. So the gematria of gematria is 273. So Mordechai is considered the same numerical value, even though Mordechai is 274. And that's the Taiku we're on right now. And I find it fascinating that we're right at the cusp, or right at the border of the springtime. And we're entering into this, we just entered Nisan, which is the Chodesh HaGeula, the month of redemption. And all these things are lining up. And if you're in the astrology world, I dabble in it. I'm not such an astrology expert, but I like to learn a little bit of it, whatever is pertinent. A little thing here, a tidbit here, a fact here, and integrate it within my system. But if you look at the planets now, there's some incredible alignments of the planets that are very rare. They haven't been this aligned in a long time, or let's just say they're significant alignments. And I know that Rabbi Reuven Wolf has made mention of this in his talks. And all that to say that I wanted to share this before the 274th, because in my process, numbers are very important. Numbers tell things. In fact, the word misparim, you could say, you say, like in Hebrew, you say, sipur is a story. Mahasipur, what's the story? But the word mispar is a number. So, in a way, homiletically, or like through a wordplay or a word derivation, you can say that numbers tell stories, and you can get the full story if you understand the numbers. And so every number is important. And so 274, the fact that it's happening on March 20th of 2026, we're on Taiku 274, and March 19th was 273. And it's possible that only in many months or years from now, we would find out the full implications of this. But anyway, without further ado, this is the 274th Taiku in the Babylonian Talmud. It occurs on page Chulin 75a, according to the book written by Rabbi Aharon Yehoshua Pessin, a rabbi who wrote a book called Taiku, which compiles all of these Taikus. A Taiku is an unresolved and unanswered question in the Babylonian Talmud, and the tradition is that we must wait until the coming of Messiah, maybe soon in our day. Elijah the prophet is said to answer all of these Taikus. So it's exciting to see how this will play out. So, Chulin 75a with the words Boy Rav Chizda. Boy Rav Chizda, no lu bedogim simoni trei fomahu. Ti boy leman de omar trei fachayo. By the way, it's 3:14 right now here in Jerusalem. 3:14 p.m. And 3:14 is pi, 3.14, and it also equals Mordechai HaYehudi. Mordechai HaYehudi equals 3:14. So, which is also connected to Gematria and Pi Day, which was not too long ago. Boy Rav Chizda, start over again. Boy Rav Chizda, no du bedogim svoni trei fomahu. Di boy lemando trei fachayo, di boy lemando trei fachayo. Rav Chizda raises a dilemma. According to Rabbi Akiva, symptoms of a treifa developed in a fish. Interesting. For example, a perforation in the intestines, which will certainly result in the animal's death. See 42a. What is the halacha? Can it already be rendered ritually impure as if it were dead now? The Gemara clarifies one can raise this dilemma according to the one who says that an animal that is a treifa can live, meaning it will not necessarily die within a year, and one can raise this dilemma according to the one who says that a treifa cannot live, but will die within a year. Tiboy lamando treifa chayo behemahu tenefish chiyuso awol dogim teloy nefish chiyusayu lo oy dilma filu lamando treifa eno chayo hani mili behemadiyesh bemina shchito awol dogim she'en b'minan shchito ema lo teiku. The Gemara elaborates, one can raise this dilemma according to the one who says that a treifa can live, as perhaps that opinion is limited to an animal, as an animal has a strong life force and it could live despite such symptoms. But with regard to a fish whose life force is not strong, all would agree that it will not survive. Or perhaps, even according to the one who says that a treifa cannot live, it is possible that this matter, that a treifa is regarded as dead, applies only to an animal, as the requirement to slaughter it in order to permit it for consumption applies to this type of creature, meaning to animals, and so to invalidate its slaughter, the Torah classifies an animal that is a treifa as though it is dead. But with regard to fish, where the requirement to slaughter it in order to permit it does not apply to this type of creature, I would say that a fish with symptoms of a Treifa is not considered as though it were dead. The Gemara concludes, Taiku. The dilemma shall stand unresolved. This is a side point, but since we're talking about gematria, might as well bring it. And we're talking about fish, and we're talking about animals. That there is no fish sacrifice in Leviticus, and we're in Parshas Vayikra now. So we're talking about animal sacrifices, and there's meal offerings. There are meal offerings, but there are no fish offerings, which is ironic because the word dagim, fish, has a numerical value of 57, which is the exact numerical value of the word mizbeach, which is the altar where animals are sacrificed. So it's ironic, and I've had this question for a long time, and I think it's not inclined to be coincidence or happenstance that the fact that dagim, fish, equal mizbeach, and yet there are no fish sacrifices. It's been a long time question as to why this is, and I figured I'll ask it. I always ask my own teikus, but that's the 274th teiku in the Babylonian Talmud in Chulin 75a.